today you're going to be drawing a snow globe and using some of those skills that we learned last class. You need a piece of white paper, a pencil, either mechanical or wood's fine, an eraser. Okay, so this one doesn't have a good eraser, so you can use either a separate eraser, or if your pencil has a good eraser, that is totally good. And then you need something to trace a circle from. It might be like a small bowl or something out of your recycling bin. I also found this that would work, like the lid off of my Advanced Lysol. This is about the right size. You want to go just a little bit smaller than your open hand, and you'll sort of see it, how it fits. You might even have like a big mug or something at home you could trace. But recycling bin, good place to start. All right, so I'm going to use this bowl, and I'm going to look at the, like where I'm going to put it on the page is I'm going to go up from the bottom. I want to leave more room on the bottom, less on top, because I'm going to be adding a base. I don't want it pushed all the way to the top. And I'm going to start just by tracing my circle first. I could feel I was hitting the texture there. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of that. That's what happens when you start using stuff out of the recycling bin or using things you find around your house. If you have a compass, you can definitely use a compass as well, but I don't have one here at home for all its cool. Alright, so we're going to start with our basic circle, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be putting a base on it. The base, so we are starting with a sphere, and the base is going to be a cylinder. Now, we're going to, because this is going to be resting in our base, we're going to be pulling the curve for our cylinder right here. So at the bottom, we're going to like crop off a section. So we're going to come in from the edge of our sphere, and we want this to be rounded because our cylinder is rounded. And then we're going to come, right now we're just going to do a basic vertical and a basic vertical here. And then we're going to do a curve that matches this curve. So a curve that pulls through here, matching our curve above. Okay, now I'm going to erase away my circle. Excuse my dogs. Ella, no. I'm going to erase away my circle, and it should look like this is passing right in. So we're actually going to pull this to here, and then I'm going to start building layers for my snow globe base. When I say that, I'm going to do like a layer here. So I'm going to pull a curve right here. Anything that goes on the surface has to be rounded and curving. I'm going to skip like an area here. And then I'm going to put another one here. And if you didn't make your base tall enough, you can just add sections below. So if your base was short, you can just extend it down and add another section below. I'm going to add one more section into here. And each of these is curved. And I'm right now just really sketching lightly. I'm not trying to put down any really heavy lines. And I'm okay with making a couple of lines. Alright, so now on the edges, so we can make this look more dimensional, I'm going to do these sort of bubbling out so that this will be protruding out. That helps it look more dimensional and round. And then I'm going to let this part be straight. I'm going to let this part bubble out here. And I'm going to let this part down here bubble out. These would be like our bands of wood. And then I'll go in and erase the edges here, 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 and here. Okay. Alright, that's going to be my basic base. And I've left myself some room if I want to put a cool detail or something in there. Now let's work up here. So let's start first with establishing like some base snow, where our snow hill would be going right through here. And then I'm going to also do this. So this is our front hill. I'm going to do what's called overlapping. So this front hill is going to be overlapping our back hill. This will also give it a little bit of dimension. I'm going to add a hill here and a hill here. And I'm going to make them uneven. Like one will be bigger, one will be a little smaller. This is where our main hill is going to sit. Okay. Next, we're going to start drawing our snowman. And our snowman is going to sit like on this hill, but he's going to be covering the peak of it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just sort of lightly, and we want to map out how big he is so we still have room to put his hat on. So we're going to do like one here, and it'll be covering the top of that hill, a medium here, and I might flatten it, like it might not be a totally round. This one too, I might flatten a little bit, lower this a little. And this will be our third, and that's enough room that we're still have room to put his hat on him. And so the hat's going to go somewhere like here. So we'll draw a curve like that and just put it up. That'll tell us that's where the hat's going. Okay? Now, I'm going to erase where it's covering this. And we're going to draw a basic cone. So let's come up to here and let's actually start on the face. So we're going to draw a basic ellipse. Now here's the thing. So this is going to be the front of the hat. We're going to draw this ellipse like this. So from this corner of his head to this corner of his head, we're going to draw this ellipse. And it's going to be sort of affected by this top of his head. Okay, so this part's going to be sort of rounding around his head. The next thing is we're going to put a cylinder on this. Now, the cylinder is going to be here. So the bottom of it's going to be here. It'll go up. We're going to put it on an angle, up on an angle, and then the top ellipse will be right here. We'll be erasing where that cylinder is sitting on this. And this is going to look like it's passing behind, passing behind. Okay. Now, and this is like the front of the hat sort of rising up. But this has to be down on this base cylinder when we're drawing it. Okay. So I'm going to give this hat a band. It's going to curve around. And let's give him a cone for a nose. So our cone is going to go out to the side. It's like almost looks like a beak sort of going on like this. And then at this base we're going to curve. And we'll make little rings, those little detail rings like a carrot. You know, carrots have all those little like pools around them. And then we're going to give them an eye that is here. And I'm going to give mine sort of like a coal eye, so I'm not going to make it a perfect like circle. And then the other eye sits a little bit further back here. Let me draw that. So this one sitting on this side of the nose, this one is sitting on this far side, so he's like a little bit turned. And then I'm gonna give mine some like a coal mouth, so I'm gonna put small little dots for his mouth. Okay, next is I'm gonna give him a scarf. So here I'm gonna use this curve of the head. I'm gonna come straight down, pull this curve here, at this back side, we'll give it like a knot. So I'm just going to put sort of a rough, circly detail here. It's not like a true circle, but it's sort of rough because it's made out of, like sweater material. And then I'm going to give them a scarf, and I'm going to let it be sort of flow around. Down here I'm going to put little dots and then little upside down V's to be tassels. I'm going to give it a little bit of striping. If later you want to add in color, I mean, this would be a great place to add in a little bit of red, a little bit of green or something, or, like blue and white would be pretty. Just adding in a little bit of extra color. I'm going to give a little stripe here so it matches. Don't forget our scarf. Alright, and maybe we'll give it a second tail. So a second tail could come down here. It's like the other side tied. And if I've drawn my snowman light enough, I'm not having to go back in and like erase snowman. I'm just going right on top. So there's the second piece of that. And then I'm going to give him buttons. And they're going to go, so they're like, we're going to do it around this edge. Joy. Here, 1, 2, and 3. Like, and it's offset. It's sort of like under where the face would be. So I'm offsetting it. Okay. And then our bottom piece is here. Now, we got to give this guy some arms. So I'm going to give mine like stick arms. So one arm is going to come out here. And it's going to be sort of uneven, meaning I'm not trying to draw perfect like fingers on it, but I'm going to give him a couple little branch fingers. This is coming like from this back side. And the other one's going to come here. And it's going to just overlap the scarf as it goes out. So I'm going to take it out this way. And give it some little uneven stick finger hands. And I'm just sort of doubling up the lines so it has a little thickness and you can see it on top of the scarf. Okay. Now I already have like drawn this kind of rounded, and I'm going to add just a little bit of shading, so like light to medium to make this look round and spherical. I'm also going to do a little bit of shading like right under this scarf because it would be casting a shadow down on the white. The underside is going to be a little bit heavier, and I'm not shading solid. I'm sort of like doing like a light little scribbling because this is snow. And we want it to look a little bit textured. I'm going to do the same thing with almost like little dots when I shade. I'm not doing big long pencil strokes. I'm layering up some little like dots. Okay. Down here on the bottom, I'm going to do sort of the same thing. I'm going to layer up some dots here, just to keep the texture. So I'm sort of dots, and they're like tiny little like hooks, like little U shapes sometimes. That makes it look like it has a little lump, but tiny. You can barely see it. If you looked up really close, and I'm going to shade around this edge, that tells it's going like rounded and back away from us. We'll have a little bit right here, but majority down here on the bottom. Okay. Alright, so here's my hill. I'm going to add just a little bit of shading in my hill so it's not empty. And these are sort of like scribble shades again too, so nothing too detailed. And I'm going to shade this back hill. So right here where one hill overlaps the other, right here is going to be the darkest because it's sitting behind this. And then I'll let it fade as it comes up. And I certainly can sort of soften with my fingers, to the grays here. Like I don't want anything probably left totally white, but I'll be softening and curving with my fingers to make that look rounded and soft. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing to the hill on this side where it sits behind. Fading as it comes up. I'll soften it a little bit with my hand. Alright, so he's looking pretty dimensional. Now let's go up here and I'm going to do shading this hat. So I'm going to do the whole band is going to be like medium, and then on the edges here and here it'll be a little darker to tell me it's rolling around the back, making sure we don't lose this. Here too. And then fading at the front, and then darker on the side, fading at the front. That tells us it's rounded. Now because this is not going to be a white hat, it's probably like gray or black. But I'm not going to shade it all to black. I'm showing like light hitting the surface. So back here, I'm going to give it just a little bit of gray. At this front side, we'll leave it a little bit lighter. Okay. All right, so that's our basic snowman. Now we're going to shade in this glass to make the glass look like it has dimension. And this can go a lot of different ways, but this is how I'm going to do it. So when we're seeing reflection off glass, a lot of it is dependent on the light that is around us. So when we're looking at this, I'm going to come around this edge and I'm going back and forth with my pencil, just creating like a shape that is curved like this surface. And as it reaches the top, I'm going to let it run even really close to the top. I'm going to create some lines that are telling me these lines have to be rounded. So anytime we're putting like any type of line on this surface, nothing is ever going to be totally straight. That'll straighten out our drawing too much. So even from back here to sort of fool my eye or the viewer's eye, we're going to pull some rounded shapes. On this side, we're going to do the same. I'm going to kind of go from here. I'm going to pull around. And there's lots of different ways to do reflection on glass. But the biggest thing is nothing is ever totally straight. Okay, as we're doing this, we're always pulling curves on the surface. Now, we also can make them a little bit bigger eye. We also can create snow in there. So if I was going to do snow just with pencil, I'm doing like little scribbles. Sometimes people do little actual snowflakes, like little X's. So it's sort of like an X and a cross together. So you X and then make a cross. You can choose how you want to represent snow. I kind of like it more like that, so I'm going to get rid of these squarish ones. I think they stand out a little better if they actually look like little snowflakes. But if we're really doing true snow globe, inside they're actually little squarish or rectangular pieces of glitter. But this is our drawing. We can do it how we want. All right. Now let's work the base. So in the base, we want this to look like a cylinder and that it's rounded. So we're going to be pulling here. When I do this, this is a rounded surface, like a bump out. So when I shade this, I'm going to be curving my shading to look like a bump. So I'm doing these like rounded shades. So on the sides as it goes back, I'm doing rounded, and as it pulls around to the front, it's going to be lighter. Here these sides are straight, so I'm going to go straight, and then I'm going to fade my way forward, so straight, and then fade my way forward. Even the front will have a little bit of value. Okay, so these as well, we're going to do these bumps. here, so darker here, and then fading as we come around. This is going to be the side that's getting less light, so this side will usually be a little bit darker. Fade to light. Do the same thing on this bottom bump. Alright, and then we'll fade to light at the front. And what I'm going to do is just pull my finger through here, and I'm going to smooth this out a little bit, and then I'm going to add some decoration to it. I'm going to go a little darker in this trough where this meets here, showing that shows us that this area is recessed in and that these are sticking out further. So this is like the overhang shadow, and it wouldn't be much because this is just a bump, but we want to see it. We don't want to lose that line here. Okay, I'm just adding a little value under it, and I'm going to do the same thing here as it bumps in here. And I want to make sure I don't lose this, because this is where it's bumping down into this. So I'm going to shade on like the bottom side of this roll here, because this is, it's rolling back into that crevice. And at the bottom, same thing, as it rolls to this underside. I'll put a little bit of value down here. Okay, so that's our basic base without detail yet. I'm going to add a little bit of this value right into that hill. Alright, now we need to cast shadow. A couple ways this would cast a shadow. We left this side a little more lit than this back side. So when I do a shadow, I'm going to, number one, right under it will be dark as it's sitting on the table. So right at this base, we're going to see a little bit heavier looking value. And then I'm going to do the cast shadow like this. So it's going to come off of this side and go back this way. And it'll be rounded. And then in here, I'm just going to very lightly shade. And I'm definitely going to smudge my shadow. Now, my snow globe is going to be sitting on a surface that is straight like a tabletop. So I'm going to put a line. I'm going to use a ruler. You could use, you don't have to use a ruler, but you could use like the edge of a, I mean, if you have a ruler, use a straight edge. If you don't have a ruler, you could use, the edge of a book or a magazine or something like that. And I want it to be pretty even. So the way I'm going to do this is I want it to be, I don't want to come through my snow globe, or else I have to show the line as it goes through the snow globe. So I'm going to come to where the snow is sitting. That's where I'm going to actually put my line. But I want it to be even. So I'm not even going to necessarily worry about what the measurement is. I'm just going to pick one. But I'm going to come into here. I want it to be in this area. So I'm going to do I'm doing whatever I see on my ruler, 9 centimeters. But you can even use like, if you don't have a way to measure it, you can even do, like use your pencil. In fact, I'll do that for the other side. I'll just put my pencil on here, wherever that is that I picked, and I'll come to this side, and I'll put it at the same height, put my line there, and then I'll connect across. Okay. And that'll anchor it to a surface, and that helps it look dimensional too. Okay. And I'm going to do this from back here. I'm going to give it a little bit of value back here on my surface, and then let it fade as it comes forward. So A little bit of value back here. Let it fade as it comes forward. I'm just going to smooth that. Now, you can come through here at this point and decide if you want to do some decorations. I'm going to do like a sort of like a decorative looking snowflake. So I'm going to just do this. I'm going to do an X and an X like this. And then I'm going to come on to the ends of those. And I'm going to do like little shapes, like little V's almost. And then I'm going to continue those around, and they're going to follow. So here, the next one's going to go here. There'll be one here. There'll be one here. So I'm doing this center line, just mapping out where they go. There might even be one, like a partial one right there. But I'm following this curve of this around. And I'll put my vertical one in there. Vertical, vertical, vertical. I won't see that one. And then the cross. Like the X that pulls through there. And I'll add the little details. You can put whatever you like in here, actually. Some kind of detail. You can put your name in cool letters. It'd be really nice if we had snow outside right now. I'm not going to lie on that. Oh, I don't like that one. Gotta smooth that back. Whenever you erase, you gotta account for that. Alright, and that is it. So now, if you wanted to go in and add color, you could do really just some simple colored pencil. And I wouldn't try, with a drawing like this, I wouldn't try to make everything like really bold and solid when you're adding to a graphite drawing like this. I would probably just add little hints of color if you want to add it. So like